Hi, I'm Zoe Griffiths, and you have found the Alchemist of Humanity podcast, where we spend time discussing how to create new ways of solving everyday challenges that we experience in the field of education, health, and well-being. Thanks for joining me today. We have a fascinating topic, so let's get started. I'm delighted to be joined today by a woman who has a diverse range of life experiences within media, journalism and education. The alchemy of these sectors opened up a pathway leading governmental and private sector projects, delivering strategic visions, including initiatives to achieve educational objectives. Educated at Cambridge University and Imperial College, Ferakh is passionate about Arabic and Islamic education. The cumulative effect of her BA and MSc in this area, coupled with an MBA with an elective in entrepreneurship, led her to become one of the founders of Arabi, an Arabic programme for children which is revolutionising Arabic teaching in UAE private schools. As a linguist and lover of languages who learned Arabic as an adult, she is aware of the difficulties and complexities involved in learning the Arabic language. A teacher and ardent advocate of utilising new pedagogies and technology to achieve results makes her uniquely qualified to spearhead change in Arabic language education. She's been recognised by a number of organisations for her charity work and has received a number of awards as an individual and for group projects. Welcome to the show today, Ferakh. I'd like to begin by asking, how are you an alchemist of humanity?
As a mother, I'm trying to instill the right values in my children. As a Muslim, these are rooted in the Quran and Islam. Values are universal. The prophets all brought the message of treating others as you would like to be treated, kindness, honesty, truth, caring, and giving to others. And these are basic human values that I think transcend and supersede anything.
So what did living heritage look like for you at home, and how did it shape your character and identity growing up?
Well, I've already touched on this in my previous answer about Islam, but my mother was the most amazing person I've ever met. She brought us up with minimal resources in a country where she struggled with the language and culture, which was so alien to her own upbringing, which was in Pakistan. She sent us to Church of England schools, and I went to a Catholic sixth form college. We had to attend assemblies, mass, etc. And when I asked her if I could be excused from mass and assemblies, she asked why, what do they do in them? And I said, they talk about the Bible, sing hymns, etc. She said, so it's all about God. No, you have to go. Her outlook on life was simple, and she had a hard life of struggle and toil, but she believed in the basic values of Islam and helping others.
So you believe that faith is one of the foundational elements of building character in the future generation, Ferakh?
For me, I feel it is. Because it's the way I was brought up. And I've met many Christians, I've got Jewish friends, Christian friends, Hindu friends, and all of them have one thing in common. They're all kind and considerate people, and they empathize with others. And that, I think, transcends any religious belief. It's just a basic human value.
And isn't it really powerful to shape and frame values and character based on humanitarian values, which unites us all?
Exactly. I totally agree with that.
So on life's journey, what initiated your career in media, journalism, and then later in education?
I would have to say my mother, because she pushed us to achieve and said, whatever you do it to the best of your ability. And I wasn't like some of my siblings, and they were naturally clever. I had to work to get the grades. My mother was ahead of her time, and she supported us in our choices of universities and studies. She said, you're not white, so when people look at you, they will see the colour of your skin. Many won't look beyond that colour. So you must speak English better than them to get a good job. And originally, I always wanted to be a human rights lawyer. But I was looking through the Leeds prospectus, and the page just turned and it said Arabic. And I knew I had to do Arabic. And so I then went on to do the research. I joined a university. I studied Arabic and Islamic studies. And when I was coming close to graduation, I saw the job and I joined the Middle East department of AP, and I never looked back. I went on to become a journalist. I traveled the Middle East. I was covering stories related to Middle Eastern politics, etc. Later on, that transcended into education, because at university, I started working for the UNRWA, the United Nations Works and Reliefs Agency in Jordan, teaching at Al Wahda Palestinian refugee camp. And this goes on to the next question of what did I learn from working with the most vulnerable populations and basically working in the Palestinian refugee camp. Even now, I still remember the children and the way they lived, their homes and the deprivations that they felt in the camps. And 25 years later, as a mother with a 15-year-old daughter, I look back and I feel sad when I remember them. I mean, there's one girl in particular who stands out. Her name was Iman. She was 15 years old. She was a bright, vivacious teenager. I asked the students what their ambition in life was, and she said, and I also asked this to my kids recently. Now, my kids said to me, lawyer, teacher, YouTuber, artist, architect, vet, an Olympian. Iman, this 15-year-old from Wahda refugee camp, said, I want to become a physical scientist and make bombs to kill Israelis. Now, that for me is so scary. I mean, I wonder where she is now and what she's doing. Her ambition to be a physical scientist was great, but the purpose is sad. And she was conditioned and brought up in an environment where she was taught to hate, not love. And there are many stories I can tell you about the wars and the conflicts that have been created by adults, but children are the biggest losers. Over the years, I've wondered where she is, what she's doing. Did she achieve her purpose? What are the other kids doing that I've met in the refugee camps everywhere? And that's why I feel education is the most important. As if we can teach children values and to think at an early age, they will use this to do good and help others and to love. I am a clear example of this. I mean, Nelson Mandela said it, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world.
Thank you for sharing Iman's story, Ferakh. Education is such an important part of the solution for me. Reaching out to children and young people like Iman to allow them opportunities to embark on a more hopeful future is really the key. How did Arabi take flight then from kind of that powerful realization and that purpose of helping children from those times?
Well, basically, Arabic is federally mandated here in the UAE. My children and the other people who founded the company, their kids, were not enjoying learning Arabic. And this is impacting over 500,000 children in the UAE. So for me, changing the way Arabic is taught became a mission. And it is making a difference in the world. Arabic is a step in the right direction to make Arabic language education better for children, to preserve the language and bring them closer and gain a better understanding of the Arabic and Islamic culture and religion. And this is for both Arab children and non-Arab children, Muslims and non-Muslims. A language is an intrinsic part of the culture. You can gain so much insight into people through their language. And I've been working on bringing education to underprivileged children around the globe for a few years now. I support a school in Pakistan, which has made a difference for so many children and their families. It was started by an amazing woman from South Africa. And right now I'm currently working with a Dubai group to fund and open charity schools in poor areas in Africa. Because empathy and community awareness is something that cannot be taught in a classroom with textbooks. We want to expose the children to a school in Africa, which we can develop and work with together. Several public schools in Africa are underfunded due to economic circumstances. And we hope that our small contribution towards improving standards in an African school will be advantageous to all the students studying in that school and their future and their environment. Because by improving their education, that will improve their chances and quality of life, which will then pass on. And for me, giving money or giving food, it will end. But giving education is something within them. And so this won't only be a tremendous learning experience for our students here that we can send there, but it also facilitate the students working in less advantageous schools and provide resources and financial assistance that will help the African school to improve its provisions and academic offering, with an aim of making students aware of issues faced by students in less prosperous countries, and also for them to see how there are other aspects of life and for improve their aspirations. So we want to develop in children, in students, empathy for community concerns and the feeling of doing more for less advantageous children in the world.
The words we speak through our language is for sure a representation of our character, faith and living heritage. It's really great you've created a really fun and engaging solution for children and schools. So divine timing and synchronicity brought our humanitarian purpose journeys together to serve education and connect communities. I'd like to now finish with questions relating to your way of being. What does empathy mean to you?
Empathy for me is understanding and caring enough to listen without judging. Time is something that people don't value enough. And if you give somebody your time, that's far more powerful than just giving them money or sending them. I mean, sometimes it's inevitable. Like, I haven't seen my sisters now for 4 years. In August, it'll be since we went to the UK, and I spend time with them on Zoom. But a hug, being with them and just listening and talking to them. I mean, I often think of the Andrew Marvell poem, "Had we but willed enough and time, this coyness lady were no crime. We would sit down and think which way to walk and pass our long love's day." And it's such a beautiful poem talking about valuing the time that you have. Don't let it pass, because you have such a limited time in this world.
What is your superpower and how do you feel you nurtured it?
This was one of the most difficult questions, because I think love and giving, because the more you give and the more you get, and I've been so blessed on all accounts, but people often undervalue that loving and giving are powers that need to be nurtured. They are natural within you as a child, but then as you grow, life takes over and people start to narrow their outlook. And alhamdulillah, have just returned back to my original purpose. And also I think honesty, because one of my biggest regrets was I never told my brother that I loved him before he passed away. And I was a child then. So how many children tell their older siblings that they love them? And that stuck with me. And so I've always been honest about my feelings to myself. And I think the hardest thing is, and many people may not realize, is to learn to love and forgive yourself. Because I think as people, we're harder on ourselves than we are on other people. Because some of the things that I talk to and might say to myself, I'm like, oh my God, would I ever say that to somebody else? So sometimes I write them down and look at myself in the mirror and say things to myself. And when you say them out loud, you realize, oh my God, that's not nice. You know, you shouldn't be saying that. You are not, everybody makes mistakes. You learn from the mistakes, you say sorry, but also apologizing to yourself and saying it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay. I mean, as a mother, I often think, oh my God, I'm such a crap mother. And that is so wrong. I make a mistake. My kids are teenagers. They're going to talk back. They're going to go through. It's the cycle of life. But I hope and inshallah, and I pray that they will be good people and do good in the world when they are adults. And that's all I want, for them to be good Muslims and to stay close to their deen and to stay close to their values and principles, which their father and I have tried to instill in them.
Thank you for sharing that, Ferakh. As a mother of 4, what 3 human values have your children taught you?
Okay, this was also interesting because I was trying to think, what have they taught me? So then I asked my kids, what have I taught you? And when it came back, then I realized what they've taught me. They've taught me to relax and not take things too seriously. Don't jump to conclusions, just wait and have patience, because things are going to happen and they will pass. So just have patience to go through them.
If you could send the magnetic resonance of love to anyone or anything right now, where would you send it?
To my family and friends and to anyone suffering in the world. God is with you. Allah is with you and he's watching over you. And if you have faith, although you may seem like you're really having a hard time, he's testing you and he loves you and it will make your afterlife better.
I feel the strong, strong flow of faith and your connection to God's source, Ferakh. God bless you. Thank you for all the important work that you do to deliver Arabic language to support teachers. And thank you ever so much for being a guest on the show today, Ferakh.
You're very welcome. Thank you for inviting me. And I look forward to many more.
If you enjoyed listening to how we create new ways of solving everyday challenges in the field of education, health and well-being, then you are just one click away from listening to our Alchemist of Humanity podcast channels on Apple, Google Podcast and Spotify.